Should you invest in the world's #1 oil and gas company? Why would you do that when oil prices are super low, giving such a bad profit? And what about this global push towards renewable energy and this green economy? Is that actually going to affect the price of oil stocks? What's up, Musketeers? It's your Commander here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my favorite company to work for. It's none other than Royal Dutch Shell. Now, Royal Dutch Shell, or as it's known more commonly as Shell, is a huge company. In fact, it's actually been around for a long time, over 100 years, and has hundreds of billions of dollars in revenue on an annual basis. Now, this company has actually been on the New York Stock Exchange for almost 30 years, and this company is one that you should actually consider adding to your Roth IRA, and maybe even if you want to trade with a taxable capital gain taxable account. This company is so huge that it actually has multiple setups or multiple business operations all over the world. We're talking on pretty much every continent, from the US to Latin America to countries in Africa to Europe to even within Asian countries as well too. They have partner programs, and all the way in Australia. If Shell was a country, it would actually be in the top 15 countries in the world by revenue. That's insane. We're talking a company that's actually responsible for so much energy. It's the size of a country in the top 15. That's crazy. Also too, Shell employs over 80,000 workers, and we do expect that to drop a bit in the coming months due to the restructuring that happened with respect to this year. But I don't think that that's gonna last too long, because as I said before, the company is over 100 years old. They've faced so much adversity with so many different recessions. I think they'll actually be able to bounce back very quickly. So, Musketeers, in this video, we're going to be looking at the charts itself and the fundamentals of stocks and how we can actually analyze a stock. We'll also be looking at what's actually going on with respect to Shell's future business deals and future, investments that are coming. And also, we're going to be looking at how Shell is actually doing in the news, and are they looking to diversify their income, diversify their assets into renewable energy, how they're actually going to be performing in the coming years. Alright, Musketeers, let's look at the charts first and let's see what's going on with this stock. Alright, Musketeers, here we have Royal Dutch Shell on the New York Stock Exchange. The stock currently is around $37. And what we want to look at is this chart here, where we can actually see the price over a period of time. Let's take a look at how it performed for the year 2020. Let's look at it over a 1-year period. And we're actually seeing here that it was pretty high up during the start of the year, around $60, and then it crashed down with the pandemic, with the entire global situation that was happening this year. And then it kind of bounced back up, hovered around like $38 around there, and it kind of flatlined a bit, came crashing back down to $23, and then during this election time, during the time of the US presidential election, it actually climbed back up. What I think is gonna happen is that it's actually gonna crash down a little bit again and then shoot up forward in the future. Let's take a look at the maximum time frame. You'll actually see. So here we have the maximum performance of this stock since 1994, when it first came on the stock exchange, when I was like 1 year old. And it started off at $27, bounced all the way down, had a really nice high of about around $80 in 07, and then came down to $23 as we saw in the previous time frame, and now it's coming back up. It's trying to come back up. Well,
one of the things that I'm seeing here in this stock is there's a really rough area, a really strong area around this $40 mark. Around that $40 mark, we're seeing that when price comes back down, it bounces and bounces and goes all the way, comes back down, touches it and bounces all the way up. I think it's going to take a lot of force for this stock to actually burst through, and it's going to probably come back down a little bit and then burst through that $40 area. If we see it break through there, then we know for sure it's going to go all the way back up, might even hit $70, might even go up to $80. The truth is, the sky's the limit. Now, in terms of the dividend is 3.5%, and that's actually pretty good and pretty consistent for a long time. In fact, we can actually see here on their actual website for Shell, we're actually going to the investors area. You can actually take a look at, see, that we're actually seeing here that price is in that range. And let's go all the way to, we're looking for dividends and share buybacks. So we're gonna go to the dividend announcements. Let's see here, and we would actually see the dividends as they were performing for the last few disbursements. We're looking at 0.48 again, and we're gonna go all the way into Q2, Q3, 0.97 for the year so far. Now this year is a very, very special year. We had a lot of issues this year, but we can actually see that things did work out pretty well for 2019. Total for 2019 was actually 3.76%. Total for 2018 was that amount as well. 2017 as well. We're seeing that here. This is a very, very consistent payout. Now, again, we're looking at what it could potentially be in the future. Based on my analysis, I definitely think that this stock is going to perform very, very well, especially when it breaks past that $40 mark. So this is definitely a stock you want to look at as far as getting a dividend from if you want to add it to your Roth IRA, or you can consider it for your taxable, your capital gains taxable account as a possible stock to hold on to while you're collecting that dividend.
Alright, Musketeers, so we can actually see from the charts that this stock has a lot of potential. We actually saw that the dividend was very, very strong at about 3.5% over the last few years. And we do also see that it has a really good potential to start from here and go all the way up, because today's price is actually super, super low, especially when compared with its past performance. Alright, so now let's jump into how it's actually been looking in the news, and are there any future business deals for Shell that are going to impact the stock price? And also too, what's really going on with Shell as far as environmental issues, and what is their initiative as far as going towards net zero emissions and becoming a quote-unquote green company? Let's take a look.
Alright, Musketeers, so as we can see here, Shell is very popular in the news. There's just about so many websites that actually have articles, from Forbes to Financial Times to Bloomberg, even Barron's. But let's take a look at the articles that what we can actually use to determine if this is a company, if this is a stock that we want to invest in the future. So let's take a look at worldoil.com. We're actually seeing here back in, let's see here, this would have been October, that the stock itself hit a 25-year low following the rollout of green initiatives. We're seeing here, when you actually read through, the company itself is actually cutting about 9,000 job losses by the end of 2022 to actually save about $2.5 billion. That's a lot of money they're going to save, and a lot of lives that are going to be impacted in the coming months and coming. So we're starting with the bad news first. It's always good to start with the bad news first. Hopefully we can get some good news. We're actually seeing that the stock declined a lot as well, and we're seeing here that this would be Shell actually scaled back their operations in Singapore as well. So this is another article here that actually shows that Shell was planning to cut their average barrel to day amount of oil production of refining capacity, 250,000 barrels per day. They were actually going to roll back, and this is in their initiative to get net zero emissions by 2050. Now, we're actually seeing here that they're scaling back a lot, but not just because they want to get to that net zero emissions, but also because, hey, the demand for oil and gas and energy had actually dropped this year due to the major events of, the pandemic and so on. So there's these two things happening during this year. Also too, there's another big story that came out recently that executives from Shell actually quit due to their discord over the green push. Now, when you read on further, this is from ft.com. When you actually read on further, we're actually seeing here that the executives, in fact, one of the main persons at Shell who headed the solar storage and onshore wind businesses at Shell, said that the team have all left the company in recent weeks within the energy transition strategy team. So it's very interesting that people are actually leaving Shell due to it not having, or at least not being, more aggressive in their push towards green energy or the so-called renewable energies, even though we're actually seeing here that Shell actually is cutting back a whole lot. I mean, what do they really want the company to do? Do they want to push so hard the company goes bankrupt? I mean, they're already cutting back on jobs as a result of the lower demand and oil, the lower demand and energy. On the better side though, there is actually some news with respect to Saudi Arabia and Shell and AMG going forward in an agreement for a recycling supercenter within Saudi Arabia. This is a major development in terms of recycling, and this will actually enable Saudi Aramco to refine its crude in an environmentally sustainable manner. So we are seeing that Shell is doing a lot to go forward with their initiative for net zero emissions and trying to be as green as possible, but hey, you know what? You can't satisfy everyone. Also too, we're actually seeing here, and this is some of the better news, that Shell aims to actually double their LNG bunker and tanker fleet by 2025. So we're seeing that Shell is focused more on their liquid natural gas production and their bunkering fleet by 2025. We're seeing again that Shell is pulling back on their oil production, but what they're doing, and this is a much better strategy, they're actually increasing their LNG production, so much so that BHP has actually done a contract with Shell for Shell to actually supply LNG for their ships, for their transport ships, for a 5-year term. So we're actually seeing here the combination of this together with the news that Shell is actually going to double their fleet. Imagine that. So as far as a company in the future, we're seeing that this company is moving towards liquid natural gas, and they're gonna do it in a big way. On the more funny side, or the more comical side, is case against Shell. As I said before, you can satisfy everyone, and there will be people who will try to bring down a company despite its efforts in terms of going green and efforts to actually move towards net zero emissions. But here we have what looks like to me a bunch of hippies who are not satisfied with Shell's initiative and Shell's push to actually move forward with their reduction in oil and gas emissions and carbon emissions. We're actually seeing here that 17,000 Dutch citizens and 7 environmental organizations, they would actually like Shell to reduce their carbon dioxide emissions by 45% by 2030. This is a very difficult thing to do, especially if you want a company to actually be profitable and you want this company to be a long-standing company. So this, again, a very unrealistic expectation of a company that has done a lot of good, has actually done a whole lot of great things for the people within the countries that they're actually refining and extracting oil and natural gas from. In fact, Shell to me, let me actually go back here. Shell to me is actually one of the companies that I think has the best, absolutely the best environment to work in. You're actually seeing here that Shell has a lot of initiatives. You can actually get a job in operations and maintenance. You can go into sales and marketing. You can go into IT. You can actually go into all the information on graduate programs for Shell. And they're constantly bringing out jobs within these areas. In fact, when we click on their current operations and maintenance jobs, we can see here that they do have a lot of initiatives, a lot of things going on with respect to Shell. Also too, and we're seeing here, if we go all the way back into here, we're seeing that Shell has done another big partnership. They're doing a big hydrogen project in China. We can also see here that on Barron's actually says that Shell's cash flow story is too good to ignore. It's time to buy the stock. What was I saying earlier this year? Oh, to keep your eyes on this stock. This is the one that you want to actually take a look at. We're seeing here that our fear of a dividend cut behind us and a surprise third quarter dividend boost still resonating. We're re-examine the Shell cash flow story and think that it's now too good to ignore. These are analysts Oswald Clint and Robert Haywood. Now, again, this is a stock that you definitely want to look at. You definitely want to consider adding it to your Roth IRA, or even if you want, you can add it to your taxable capital gains account that you want to collect that dividend and, slowly sell that over a period of time, let's say 3, 5, or 10 years. This is a company, this is a stock that you definitely want to keep your eyes on. As we saw, it dropped by 39%, but it's definitely coming back up.
Alright, Musketeers, so we were able to look at Shell in terms of the fundamental charts and analysis. We're also able to look and see how much new business deals that they have and what their future plans are. And we're actually able to see what other issues they have as far as environmental and legal and so on, and how I think they'll actually be able to combat that in the coming years and basically deal with those hippies. Also too, we were able to see how great their work programs and internships are for their employees and the up and coming new generation of engineers and young professionals who want to work for the company. All these things added together, to me, gives the impression that this stock is here to stay, and it actually has an awesome potential to grow to such heights in the future that you should definitely consider adding this to your Roth IRA portfolio, or if you're a lot more aggressive, you can add it to your capital gains account and consider this as one of your go-to stocks. Alright, Musketeers, that's it for me. I'd like you to tell me in the comments below if yes, you would actually invest in this stock, or no, you would actually not invest in Royal Dutch Shell. If there are any other oil and gas stocks that you would actually like me to take a look at, you can actually comment down below too. And based on the response, I'll actually do a full video on that stock as well. Also too, if you enjoyed watching this video and you found it helpful, you can actually subscribe right down below to see all our future videos on oil stock investing and how to save money to invest it properly and gain success doing so. Also too, you can give us a follow right up there if you're viewing this on Instagram or Facebook. So Musketeers, that's it for me. I'm looking forward to you actually saving money, investing it properly in stocks and real estate, and having success in the future. So Musketeers, this is your commander signing out.